back, little stranger. This is no place for you. This place belongs to the unwanted. It belongs to the broken things, the refuse, the discarded, the abandoned. No one gets in, no one gets out. Turn back now.
I can't. I've come to podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Spawnography. I am one of your hosts, Pierce. I'm here. Pronouns they, them here with, as always.
George Marston, pronouns they, them, or she, her. How the heck are you, Pierce?
I'm doing well. I'm a couple days out from the New York City Marathon. By the time you hear this, I will have done it already. I'm pacing
Pierce
a buddy
will
of
have
mine.
won the New York City Marathon by the time you hear this.
But overall, yeah, I figured out my Halloween costume. Halloween is coming up.
What's your
I'm just going to be
costume?
Cyclops. It's always my fallback, but
nice.
I'm being like a combination sort of new X-Men Cyclops plus the current Age of Revelation Cyclops, in
All right.
which I mean that I have a beard currently, so I'm not going to shave before Halloween, and but I got like some black cargo, like tactical cargo pants, and I found a T-shirt that is the 90s costume, but it's black.
Oh, wow.
So it's like they got the yellow straps, but it's black.
That's
and
cool.
Then I got a visor and I have a new X-Men hoodie. So I was like, boom, done. Perfect. So,
I don't even know what I'm going to be for Halloween. Haven't done much this year aside from watch a lot of movies, and like I've had a nice spooky atmosphere and a nice time, but probably have a small get together on Halloween kind of earlier in the evening. I don't know, maybe I'll just wear my Doctor Doom helmet.
I mean,
I have a Doctor Doom helmet and a Sorcerer Supreme cape, so maybe I could just put those together.
Which is pretty much, didn't that just happen?
Yeah.
So there you go. Perfect.
You go. I have years ago for Dragon Con, when I was still doing like cosplay, I made a Fisto costume from Masters of the Universe.
I remember this.
It was awesome. And I had like a massive articulated Fisto hand. Excuse me. I thought about repainting it to be an Infinity Gauntlet.
That would be cool. That would be the crossover that would probably be Magic the Gathering in 6 months, since Magic the Gathering has become infected with Universes Beyond.
It's all Fortnite now.
You know, I'm so torn because like the Spider-Man set fucking sucks. Like it's really not playable. But
yeah, my editor at work wrote about it and said the same thing, that it wasn't really good.
It's so bad, and the reason it's bad, it's the problem I'm having with Magic right now. I'm playing the least amount of Magic that I've played in the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
Just because
it seems like it's all they're doing, at least all I see. There's like The Office out there now, Dwight Schrute.
That's a secret lair, so it's like 5 cards. That stuff they've been doing since they did The Walking Dead back in like 2019 or 2018 or whatever.
Yeah, it just seems like I see more and more of it.
Yeah, they do like SpongeBob, and they do like fun, like not full sets. It's just like fun versions of cards with art from stuff,
Right. Yeah.
And they did like a Lisa Frank type of thing.
Sure.
They do sort of like gimmicky things, and like when it was just those things and it wasn't in the game in a way that you can't ignore. Like right now, if you want to be competitive in the game, you have to play these cards, and like the Avatar set is coming out in a couple months, and like.
No.
I know. They're doing 6 sets a year, essentially 6 or 7.
That's some wet cards. Are they going to be wet?
No, it's Avatar: The Last Airbender, not Avatar.
Oh. Well, there's water.
I mean, they're water
too.
benders. Yeah, that's true. No, but they're doing. But the thing about Magic is, and I said this. Somebody was like, "Oh, you like comics? You must be excited for this." And I was like, "No, I don't need all of my things to be in the
one
same
thing.
place. Like
Yeah.
if they all become one thing, then they're just nothing. And who
Yeah,
cares
no,
about
it's
that?
that kind of stuff. Like, okay, I said Fortnite. I like Fortnite. I haven't played it since the last time they did Marvel stuff, but like part of the fun of it was like sometimes you'd be playing Darth Vader and you'd run across Luke Skywalker and you'd have a lightsaber duel, and it's like that was fun. Sometimes you're the Predator and you're fighting Bart Simpson or whatever, and it's fun in that context because the entire premise of that is like, oh, it's little bits of every universe. Sure,
It's
great,
Battle
whatever.
World. It is,
Yeah, it's
you
like
know, that kind of concept.
and it's also
Also,
just one game that you're just using skins or whatever. But oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of larger media, especially like superhero and like fantasy media in general, the idea of like, we're finally seeing these two things together is like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not a draw anymore. Make something good. You know, that's one thing I liked about the Superman movie is that they didn't hold back the promise of Superman existing alongside other superheroes. They didn't make that the like, oh, you gotta wait for Superman 2 to see him meet fucking Green Lantern or something. They didn't do
Yeah.
that. And I think that was intentional, but I appreciated that because I do like seeing like those interactions, but I don't need to see like, oh, Darth Vader's gonna be in the MCU. Like, I won't be there
No,
in the theater.
it's one of those things that like I also with Magic specifically, like Fortnite doesn't have lore. I'm sure it does, but like I don't care about
But
it, and it's not significant.
It's not like 30
it's
years of like
yeah,
a storyline.
but like I like Magic has lore. Jed McKay has written many comics about it.
I mean, the Planeswalkers, when I was playing decades ago, literally, the concept of the Planeswalkers was like, oh, the player is the Planeswalker. And now I know there's like cards that represent the Planeswalkers, and they're like fully fledged characters that walk around and do stuff.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is every set then has a story that it is like. So the last big thing, and I promise I won't talk about Magic for too much longer, but
we've been talking about it for less than 5 minutes, I think. So
it's our podcast, and we can talk about whatever we want. There was a big Phyrexian invasion recently in Magic where like Phyrexia, yeah, they're fucking cool. And the Phyrexians were like, oh, we want to control the multiverse, so we are going to infect the multiverse. Multiverse stuff isn't everything, and like Magic has definitely since the Avengers gotten more Marvel-y, like Marvel Cinematic Universe-y, where the Planeswalkers are the Gatewatch. They're basically the Avengers and whatever, and it's fine, and they protect the multiverse, and
sure,
they're MacGuffins and
everything's
whatever.
a freaking multiverse.
Well,
I know that Magic has always had that kind of baked in by having the different planes,
yeah.
stories. Yeah,
well,
no, I
get
it.
And the other thing too is that's why Planeswalkers were such a big deal when they became cards. Is that Planeswalkers can literally go between planes, nobody else can. So you had a select group of like 8 characters who maybe wanted to do this, but they probably didn't because they like where they're from, you know. But they could jump in to help if they needed to in some other skirmish or whatever. And then the other thing that could connect planes were omen paths, but they can only connect like 1 or 2 planes together.
Okay.
But my point is, I promise I'm almost done. My point is that like there is lore there, and like there were story things that like were really fun because then when you're playing the game, it was cool to be
it's a thing unto itself.
Yeah, like when you're playing the cards, you're like, oh, it's cool that I'm playing this card in this deck because of like this cool thing that happened in the story. That's
my
just
favorite sets when I was playing. I loved Ice Age and like the Ice Age cycle because that was just the coolest. It was like the first like peak Magic, and then the Weatherlight cycle, Tempest, and all that stuff. Loved that set. Loved the like story that was told in the flavor text. I loved the avatars. Avatar of Woe was my shit.
Well, and also too, like the crew of the Weatherlight, they're like the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, like
exactly. Like, so there are those that element is there, absolutely. But yeah, no, I mean, and like Spider-Verse is already like hammered into the fucking dirt. Like it is a horse that's been beaten dead, brought back, and beaten dead again. And I'll be glad when the last movie comes out, because I feel like that will probably be the last of that series comes out, because maybe we'll get that last wave of like trying to make Spider-Verse a thing. But like, it's just, there's no new trick to it other than like, well, here's a Spider-Man that's drawn in crayon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That's, and it's interesting. I was just talking to enemy of the pod, David Pepos, about the new X-Men comics that are out right now.
They sure are.
The Age of Revelation. And I said to him, I was just like,
no one wants this.
I was like, what is the story here? I get that the X virus has been unleashed on only a portion of the United States, seemingly. It's not super clear. But I was like, there's no... I'm going to do an earlier recommendation, which is go read Age of Apocalypse. That shit slams.
Pretty good. I have all the omnibuy. I have the whole like...
It's partly because it has a really strong visual like language because of Joe Mad, because of the Q-Berts, because of the artists at that time.
It was peak 90s X-Men creative teams, basically.
It also looked fucking cool. And you knew who you could see character turns just by kind of like looking at the characters. You'd be like, okay, one-handed Wolverine, what's that about? Oh, what are Cyclops and Havoc up to? Oh, Cyclops, literal Cyclops. And he's got cool long hair.
And and like you can dive in. It's also one of the first times that we saw something like that on a larger scale, where it's like, oh,
they canceled all the
what
books.
Iceman is like here.
Yeah,
exactly. That's another trick that's just gone sour to me. Like, look, I know it's because of the anniversary, like the 30th anniversary or whatever of Age of Apocalypse, but I think that gimmick's cheap now. And I also think that like, nobody cares that you suspended the books because the books aren't good. Yeah. And, my opinions are not reflecting of those of my employer. So just take that as you will. But for me, they're illegible. Like, it's just a lot of not for me.
In sort of like, I went back and reread some of the early From the Ashes books because I was like, okay, have I just been like, I'm like almost reading this book out of spite. Are these books actually bad? Or like 20 issues in, are these books actually bad? Or was I so sad to see Krakoa go that I didn't really give them a chance? And I think in rereading, I think NYX is okay. I think that's
fine. How I felt. It kind of petered out and like kind of sputtered to a halt, not necessarily
but
the fault
it
of the
also
creators,
feels like every single creator is writing with one hand tied behind their back. And
it seems like there's an editorial core that is focused on a certain type of vision. This is just my read as a critic. That seems very nostalgia focused. Like the marketing for it was all like, mutants are hated and feared again, and now they're on the run and they live in a dumb little fucking building. And it's like, I may have said this on this podcast
dumb
before.
Little fucking building.
They lived in Krakoa. How can you go back to like a Sentinel warehouse in the cold? Anyway, I may have said this on this podcast before. I may have said it 5 times before. I don't know. But I'm sure I've said it to you, which is the X-Men feels like the one comic franchise, especially at Marvel at least, that cannot be nostalgia driven. Like, you want to tap into that familiar like context, and the familiar like style of what X-Men is, the soap opera and everything.
Sure.
But you can't go backwards and just be like, it's the 90s X-Men completely again. That works for Avengers. If they did an Avengers comic right now that was like the Avengers are back in the Avengers mansion and Jarvis is their fucking butler, I would be like, yeah, they did what I wanted, finally. But like, it doesn't work for the X-Men, and it feels like that's what they're trying to do, trying to just repeat history again with this. And it feels really like they're looking for an excuse to just reboot the entire line, which they kind of announced with new titles and stuff and new concepts. And I shrug at all of it. Basically, there's some cool, excuse me, there's some cool creators in there. A lot of the characters are great, but the line and the books as a whole just kind of feels like this doesn't feel like much. And it
Yeah.
has had so many low points. And to tie it to Spawn, we always talk about there are those ebbs and flows, and sometimes what you really want from a comic is for it to be doing its thing in the way that makes sense for it and that feels like a step forward. Even for a long, we're what, nearly a decade or more into Spawn at this point. It's
Yeah, I
had
think
its
we're in
ups and downs,
2003.
and yeah, so that's kind of the
April
ebb and flow
April
of comics.
2003 we're covering today. Yeah, I loved what Todd said recently where he was like, I just wish indie comics lasted for years and years. He's like,
Yeah,
I wish creators would just create a character, start, and he's like, I think I'm mincing words.
yeah,
So this is
paraphrasing.
paraphrasing. But essentially I think that he was just like, I would love to see creators get to build a universe, to build a world for their stories. And I think that for me, what I see because of what it means to make comics now, and I'm working on my own comic now, and like I didn't build a world that is going to sustain 300 issues. I
No,
built a world that can sustain 5.
right.
It can sustain the story that I have. And
I think that's valid too, but I also get what he's saying, that there's just not enough opportunities, especially for up and coming creators, to create something like that that could last beyond them in some way. There, even if you're working at the big two, it seems that, and again, this is just my read as a reader and as a fan.
mm-hmm.
It seems like creators, maybe it's discouraged, or maybe it's kind of creators holding back. There doesn't seem to be a lot of creative relationship happening where like people are coming up with really new characters.
Well,
They're
because
coming up with
what do you
like,
get for that?
exactly, well, and it's the companies realize they have to pay, they have to give credit. Sometimes they don't even want to do that, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, no, there's little incentive for either side to do something truly new or truly outside of the wheelhouse of what they know is going to sell the right amount of copies. And I think it is sad that we're only a decade on from the start of things like The Wicked and Divine,
Mm-hmm.
Black Science by
I
Rick
mean, we're
Remender.
getting more
Just,
Die. That's cool. It's
that's great.
interesting that Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hans
He's one
wanted
of
to
the last
continue that story.
generation of creators that get to do that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? There are a lot of creators in that that were in that like 2005 to 2015
Mm-hmm.
kind of Marvel indie scene.
Mm-hmm.
They're writing their own ticket now because they were allowed to develop their voices and build an audience. It used to be, okay, in filmmaking, you start small, you do your indie films,
Mm-hmm.
then you get to do your big studio films, and then you get to do your like passion project movies.
Yeah, unless you're Colin Trevorrow.
Sure, in which case, good luck.
Excuse me, Trevorrow.
Sure. Pardon us and God bless. And that used to be how it felt like in comics too. You make your name on a couple of books that you get out there yourself, show that you can tell a story, you get the attention of the next level up, and then when you've built your big two audience, you go, you guys can now follow me to my own crazy thing, and I've got 35 issues, 50 issues, whatever, to tell you about the Wicked and the Divine. I mean, look at Invincible. That got to run for like 146 issues or something.
Something crazy, yeah.
It was almost 150.
I mean, but Invincible's a weird one because it almost gets canceled. Invincible came out before Walking Dead.
Sure.
And it almost got canceled. And then Walking Dead came out, and that was such a hit that it ended up kind of Invincible was allowed to limp along with many spinoffs. And exactly what you're saying is like, look, like
Kirkman, and now it wound up becoming massive because it had room to do that, because Kirkman managed to get his foot in the right doors.
I think
right
Kirkman's
time.
a bad example of what you're talking about. I think Bendis is a perfect example of what you're talking about,
Right.
though.
No,
I think Kieran Gillen is also a really good one, right? He makes Phonogram. Somebody at Marvel likes it. He gets to do a couple of fill-in issues for JMS on Thor. Me at 20 years old goes, this is bullshit. Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, same.
Little did I know. They would become one of my favorite writers. But,
I mean, Matt Fraction, co-writer on Iron Fist, and now he's Matt Fraction.
But that run is just so wow.
Well, it's a great comic.
Could do honestly, I would do a whole podcast just on the Brubaker Fraction Iron Fist. I think
I got the omnibuy of that too. I think
that shit's fucking cool. If anybody wants Iron Fistography, but only one specific run, and we're not going to talk about any of the other stuff.
Immortal Iron Fistography.
Yeah. We'll do it.
Danny Rand is Death Fist or Ghost Fist. He's Ghost Fist now. He made a deal with a ghost to be a Ghost Fist because he died. And now he had his arm cut off, and now his arm's a Ghost Fist.
Honestly, less cool than Helverine. Helverine, cool.
Fine, I guess. Sure. People love Helverine. It's a cool visual. I'm going to go ahead and say people like anything that's a flaming skull. That's why Ghost Rider endures. I'm not going to say that it hasn't had good comics, but like it's a not as good version of Spawn a lot of the time to me. Spawn takes a lot from it, but I think Spawn, I mean, I'm on Spawnography, not Ghost Riderography for a reason.
Yeah.
But Ghost Rider has that like painted on the side of a van quality. Same thing that Spawn has too, where he's got the chains and the spikes and the cape, and it just, people love the visual. Even that's part of why Spawn has survived so long, because people want that visual and that character, and it's so striking.
Ghost Rider is such a funny character to me, though, in the Marvel Universe for a couple of reasons. One, when we were much younger, Midnight Suns was like weirdly popular because of the spawn of everything. Good game. Yeah. I still haven't beat it. I'm like stuck on one fucking stupid side mission that I'm like refusing to lose. So I just keep trying to, it doesn't matter.
Relatable.
But like that 90s, like Midnight Suns, like, oh, cool. We're doing this like Blade, fucking Damon Hellstrom, like dark Marvel Spawn thing. Marvel was like Sandman, we can do that, and then they did the most 90s ass version of it.
Right. And I mean, obviously Ghost Rider predates Spawn, so when I say it's
of course
I just think Spawn is the cooler version of the concept in a lot of ways.
I guess he does predate him.
I mean, we can admit that Ghost Rider predates Spawn. But again, Ghost Rider, there are so many 70s Marvel characters like Ghost Rider or whatever that just came and went.
Yeah.
Because they didn't look anywhere near as fucking cool.
They don't look cool.
Spawn.
They don't look cool.
Same as we've had 90s image characters that no one gives a shit about or even knows their names. Spawn is a national, international icon.
We don't get many Marvel legacy characters, yet Ghost Rider fans can name, actually even non-Ghost Rider fans can name every single fucking Ghost Rider.
Oh, even the most obscure one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Danny Ketch, Robbie Reyes,
Johnny Blaze, of course. And then there's
the Avengers like BC one.
Oh yeah,
who rode like a mammoth or some shit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. There's Blazing Skull, who is not a Ghost Rider, but who has a flaming skull head, and who was an interesting character.
Yeah, and I guess now we have Helverine, who is Ghost Rider adjacent.
And then there's there's the most obscure Ghost Rider.
I do like the precedent
of
that
course there's Kushala or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I also like the precedent that if you get, honestly, in the 90s, I was convinced that Blackheart was a very important character, and he's not.
Alejandra Jones is the other Ghost Rider. She had one volume during Fear Itself. Blackheart seemed important because he's in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I just got the Blackheart. Cool. I just completed my Blackheart Build-A-Figure from Marvel Legends. Yeah.
Is it really big?
No, it's a little bigger than usual, but not as big as I expected.
See, I think he does kind of need to be like super tall.
He's bigger than than your average bear, but like I expected him. Some of the Build-A-Figures are really big.
Yeah, because some of them have been like a Hulk or like a Wendigo or like a Sasquatch.
I got a Zemnu the Titan that's really big.
Ooh, that's cool.
Well, on the note of
On this
mentioning
note.
Zemnu the Titan, we
I
should
did
move our.
I did work on Zemnu the Titan for Marvel once.
Zemnu the Titan, fucking terrifying villain in Immortal Hulk. I would do Immortal.
Yeah. Shout out to Immortal Hulk. Immortalography, we just do immortal
you
titles.
Just read my mind. Although Immortal Hulk, we have to grapple with the fucking nasty Joe Bennett of it all, but whatever. Class act Al Ewing had a great response to that. I really appreciated him being
Al Ewing, come on the show.
I would love to have Al Ewing on the show. We had sushi once. It was awesome. Super nice guy, incredible writer, and genuinely one of the best dudes that I know of in comics. I would hate to be disabused of that notion by anyone.
Super smart, and also just a really, really exciting writer. I can pick up. I'll pick up any book if Al Ewing's name is on the front cover.
I'll at least give it a shot.
Yeah, there's a Age of Revelation sort of it's called World of Revelation. It was like an anthology with a few different stories in it, and I was like so excited that Al Ewing was on it, but it's unfortunately not that good. But it does. His
sword was not bad. It was pretty good.
His sword is great. His X-Men Red is great.
Yeah,
dude generally doesn't miss. This story felt like somebody was like, because right now the problem with the Age of Revelation is it feels like as much as Tom Brevoort kept saying like Krakoa was a bad idea for the X-Men and we need to get them back to basics and all this stuff, he's now just trying to like squeeze the juice out of anything Krakoa related, and it is unfortunate, but it is cool. If you're an X-Men Red fan, I do think that you should read World of Revelation, because it deals with the Rocco, and it deals with some of the stuff that it feels like it's a story of leftovers a bit. It is a lot of text with images, and I don't mean in the comic book way. I mean in the Batman Orphans way. And if you look up Batman Orphans, then you will know what I mean.
Oh, God.
But the prose is much better.
I literally opened that book and I went, words. And I put it back on the shelf. Well, remember when I said we'd only been talking about Magic the Gathering for 5 minutes?
Yeah, but now we've been talking about a bunch of other shit for 25 minutes.
We've been talking about bullshit. That's okay.
People, it's not because we don't want to talk about these issues. It's because we haven't recorded in a while, so we're
just catching up. You get to listen to us jabberjaw at each other as pals. But on that note, Pierce, why don't you jabberjaw at me those credits?
All right. So today we are covering Spawn number 125 and 126. I'll start with 125,
right,
as is customary.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's Todd McFarlane Image Comics present Wake Up Dreaming Part 1. Dedicated to Zach Tessie. No idea who that is. Looked it up. Couldn't find him. Didn't find his LinkedIn. So who knows?
Probably played soccer with one of their kids.
Could be anybody. Plot by Todd McFarlane, Brian Holguin. Story by Brian Holguin. Pencils by Angel Medina. Inks by Danny Miki, Victor Olazaba, Alan Martinez, and Crime Lab Studios. Lettering by Tom Morzakowski. Colors by Brian Haberlin. Cover by Greg Capullo. Don't love this cover. Not one of the best, I don't think.
No, it's kind of generic. The skull isn't great. Now, Pierce, I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But there's actually a second version of the credits right on the top page here, at least in the...
Oh, that is true. Should I read those as well?
If you'd like.
I think actually you have to read them in a certain voice.
Okay. Todd the Bod McFarlane presents Brian Homeboy Holguin writer, Angel Baby Medina penciler, Uncanny Danny Miki inker, Dan Main Man Kemp, colorist Tom DeBomb Orzakowski, letterer Brad Bling Bling Gold, editor.
What's funny about that is that I thought you were going to do Stan Lee, but that's fine too.
Oh, I didn't know what the fuck you wanted me to do. I can do that too.
No, that was fine. That was also really funny.
I was just thinking like announcer voice. When you said a certain voice, I thought you wanted me to make one.
Well, just because this is and we'll get into it.
The Bod McFarlane presents Brian Homeboy Holguin, writer, Angel Baby Medina penciler. Uncanny Danny Miki Inca. That's as good as I'm going to do right now.
That's fine.
I don't need to do it twice.
That's enough.
Excelsior.
And the reason that I said that, and the reason I thought you do it that way is because
this is very clearly a Stan Lee riff that we're opening on.
Well, a Stan Lee and a Jack Kirby riff.
Yes, I was going to say like a Jack Kirby visual riff.
Totally.
%.
And truly, this is the kind of thing I wish this book was playing with so much more.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to see it. So we get this first opening page, this incredible splash of this like Kirby-esque spawn leaping towards you.
It works so well. This whole sequence, colors, inks, pencils, everything together, it really works. I am a sucker for this kind of like weird throwback insert thing. So anyway.
It also doesn't overstay its welcome, which is great.
No, it doesn't. We're not going to do 4 issues of this.
And so we get this little like intro that says, "The shadows of the city hold 1,000 secrets, but only the wicked need fear the mysterious Midnight Avenger known as the Spawn." And then we get the title, which is The Unexpected Guest. And Spawn is saying, "Dr. Violator, your reign of terror ends here and now." It's like a little like Venture Brothers-y, which is very
absolutely fun. I mean, it's got that like Alex Toth, Hanna-Barbera quality. Very Silver Age Spawn. I love it. I love it so much. Honestly, I would totally buy a Silver Age Spawn action figure. That would.
I mean, we're getting Spawn 77 at least, which is not quite Silver Age, but
anyway, yeah, he's fighting Dr. Violator, who is basically Clown, but instead of face paint, he's wearing like a mask and he's holding like a cosmic cube, a dream cube. He says, "I'm afraid you're too late, my feckless foe. In the blink of an eye, I'll have you trapped inside my dream cube." And
Spawn, so much Kirby crackle all over these pages.
I love it. I love the Kirby crackle. Spawn says, "Take a nap, Violator," and punches the crap out of him, leaves him hanging upside down outside by his chains. We get a little bit of Salmon Twitch. I love this Salmon Twitch panel. That's like the Silver Age Twitch in particular. I love.
Really good. Also, too, this is Medina kind of flexing, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't seem like something that he was capable of. And he's really
easy to
nailing
do a bad version of this too.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, there are plenty of artists that are inspired by Jack Kirby who do terrible versions of.
I love Jack Kirby. Cannot draw like Jack Kirby. It just doesn't look the same way.
So for Medina, just like kind of pull this one out of his pocket.
Shout out for Danny Miki as well.
I was just gonna say, shout out to the inkers as well for keeping this on the right path.
Well, the inks are nice and chunky and blocky. They're not doing the cross hatching. They're doing like old school inking techniques, and it looks great.
Yeah.
And I love Salmon Twitch here. The note pinned to the Dr. Violator says, "Courtesy of the Spawn."
I
like what they're saying. Sam says, "Do you think we'll ever know who the Spawn really is?" And Twitch says, "Whoever he is, this city owes him our gratitude."
Such Stan Lee dialogue. I love it.
Exactly.
I have a question for you. Kirby would always do the sort of like running eyeliner sort of shading under a lot of his characters' eyes.
Mm-hmm.
What was that about? Because he does it for, like, I get it when it's like a villainous character, because he typically would do it for a lot of villainous characters, but he does it for Sam here.
Well, that's not Jack Kirby.
Sorry. Medina does it for Sam here.
No, but it is true. It's something he does. I think it is usually to denote like lines on the face or like a craggy face. Darkseid has a deeply craggy face with like glowing inset eyes.
Yeah.
So his are darker. Okay. I think that's usually what it is.
It's like a wrinkle more than anything when it's not just on like a normal human character. Okay. Just something I've always wondered and I never asked you about.
Mm-hmm. That's my impression. And like when you see it on Dr. Violator there, that's meant to show the like reflective quality of the mask.
Mm-hmm. We meanwhile at the Park Street home of Alan Wanda Simmons, which is a goddamn mansion.
It looks like stately Wayne Manor.
Yeah, Spawn jumps in through the window and he's getting out of his costume as Wanda comes in and
he's
she
got
asks
the
if he.
thought bubbles going where he's like, can't have anyone guessing my secret identity. It's
Just
such a
super
fun
fun,
throwback.
super fun. What's fun too is that like you just kind of realize that the character's good enough that it still works in this context.
Spawn is so malleable in that way that characters like Batman and Spider-Man are, where you can kind of transpose them into different places and they still really work.
Yeah, Wolverine's the same way, right? You can have
Yeah.
1,000 versions of Wolverine. Great characters just are infinitely uh, sort
There's so
of
much room to have for them to be in conversation with themselves and with
yeah,
other stories and stuff. Yeah.
totally.
And he's meeting with Wanda, who knows his secret identity. She's saying, when you told me your secret identity on our wedding night, I didn't think I could handle it, but now I can't imagine our life together any other way. Now says, life's good, isn't it? And she says, like a dream. He calls himself husband, father, and pillar of the community by day. And she says, merciless, unnecessarily violent urban vigilante by night. Oh, Al, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, we're having so much fun. This must have just been so much fun to script because like you get to do the very over the top Stan Lee got to explain everything in the first couple
Right.
pages so we can kind of get through it. Every comic could be somebody's first. However, if this is your first Spawn comic, you're probably like,
What the fuck is this? Yeah, but you'll quickly be disabused of the notion that this is going to be the entire issue, as in the next page, who should show up but Clown, who's kind of decapitating their ersatz Alfred.
Yeah, Niles.
He shows up in in a modern comic style in like a super clown kind of outfit. He's got the like C on his chest and the gloves. And he is saying some particularly unsavory things about Spawn and kind of tearing apart his dream world, making him wake up. He says, wake your sorry ass up, dirtbag. And Spawn springs up, screaming, no!
I do
His
love how
green
Clown
eyes.
pulls the panel away. Is really cool. So Al wakes up from this sort of Silver Age dream and yelling no. Some interesting lettering on that no. And he's at Nyx's home, and
Yeah,
you
he's
know
on her
she's
couch.
she's kind of taking care of him, and she's gotten him some clothes, and she says you can freshen up, and he's just like he's still very confused. When he goes into the bathroom, he looks at himself in the mirror, his eyes glowing green. He still has the white M, Malbolgia M, sort of like from his costume on his chest. We saw a similar thing with Cagliostro when he took off his shirt, in issues past.
Yeah, he had the M still. We've seen that
And
that's kind of the brand that you're left with one way or another.
yeah, even though Malbolgia's dead, that still exists within him. It is kind of the thing that Cogli, like him being human now, but still also being a Spawn, is kind of the thing that Cagliostro hinted towards issues and
Right.
issues and issues
Well,
ago.
he kept promising him he'd get there if he could only harness his power or he could be something
Right,
more. And as we learned, that was a trick. And now Cog is apparently the ruler of hell.
right.
For those who don't exactly remember, Nyx was the witch who cast a spell on Spawn, on Al Simmons, to reunite him with Spawn without realizing that's what she was doing.
Kind of pinning his shadow back to his feet in a very Peter Pan and Wendy kind of way.
Yes. Well, she tells him he's been asleep for 3 days, and he kind of grumpily goes in the bathroom where, yeah, he's looking at himself. He goes out for a walk, and he's just walking around. Nyx is trying to keep up. He's walking fast, and she says, wait up, will you? And he says, keep up or go home. Al's like a jerk right now.
I think, well, he's traumatized. He's
Yeah.
working through it, So
Yeah, he sure is. He definitely
let's give him
is.
a little space.
You're right. We'll allow him room for healing. But yeah, they're talking about Wanda, and Nyx is kind of saying, you kind of talk to her about a lot in your sleep. I can take you to see her if that's what you want. And Al wisely is like, no, not after all this. She shouldn't see me like this. She deserves a better life. She deserves a better life. She deserves better than me. And She says, Nick says she doesn't understand. Al tries to explain his second life as Spawn. He says, I try to do good, but everything I touch is damaged, which good observation at this point, Spawn, because you've really done
a
made some
number.
messes.
Yeah. And he mentions that that he's kind of in hell and that he's been to hell, and she says, like, you went to hell, like, metaphorically, like you just had a bad couple days, like, what's going on here? And he goes, no, like, literally a couple times I went to heaven too, had the power of God. I couldn't do an ounce of good. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I this is like, it's I'm a little bit struggling with, like, if you're a reader of Spawn at the time, right? Malbolgia dies in issue 100. Okay. We spent 2 years now and we've gotten the cog reveal of, like, him as the bigger bad.
Right.
And now it feels like the book resetting in a way that, like, I know that we've liked a lot of the issues since 100, but I think one thing that I've come back to a few times is that, like, I kind of wish a couple of the things that we'd seen from, like, 70 until, like, 120 were truncated in a way that the important stuff happened in 100. Not that it matters, but it's just that it's like the big number, but it
Right.
feels like we do spin our wheels quite a bit, and it also feels like, we know this is a 5-part arc. It does feel like we're spinning our wheels a little bit here
Yeah.
to reestablish some stuff. I mean, I think it's fitting that we do the Jack Kirby Stan Lee thing at the very beginning,
Right.
because those comics are kind of famous for spinning their wheels for 6 or 7 pages at the beginning, and then
Right.
kind of getting to something that leaves you on a cliffhanger that you're like, I guess I gotta read the next one.
Well, Nick starts talking to Al about the green world and about nature and how she believes in, this is sort of like green path witch stuff, where she's talking about, like, the rule of three, the threefold rule, which is a sort of neo-pagan concept of, like, whatever energy you expel, you will receive back in threefold. So, like, if you put out goodness into the world, goodness will come back to you threefold.
Oh,
If
it's
you
not like
use,
a comedy rule, because that's the only way that I know of it.
oh, that's part of it, yeah. And so if you put out negative energy, it will be returned. It's just sort of a moral guide stone, sort of with great
Reap what you
power.
sow type thing.
Exactly. The golden rule, one of those, like a little moral parable. This is all very, like, clearly this guy read, like, Drawing Down the Moon or some Silver Raven Wolf or something.
Silver Raven Wolf?
Silver Raven Wolf is one of the foremost modern occult writers. I don't even know.
Oh, that's their name?
Silver Raven Wolf.
That sounds
Yes.
like the edgiest thing you come up with when you're 13 years old and you start calling yourself a witch.
Yes. And that is why she appeals so much to, like, she's written so many books about, like, teen witch, how to be, to stir the magic cauldron.
Sabrina?
No, she created the Teen Witch kit. They're just, like, really light, like, teen occult books that are, like, a lot of people's first exposure to the, like, world of, like, quote unquote paganism and
Are you
neo-paganism.
calling out Brian Holguin as something of a pagan poser?
No, I'm saying that's probably where he did his research, because I'm not saying those are poser books at all. Silver Raven Wolf is, like, iconic. And I mean, they're a little kitschy.
That's such a funny sentence.
I know, isn't it? But I mean, that's why I remember her name.
True.
Because it's not like Darlene Finch or something.
Sounds like a Digimon.
It does. Silver Raven. You just activated my Silver Raven Wolf.
Anyway, basically, Nyx is saying, like, like, Al, like, I don't really know, like, I don't have anything that can change you into a good person. However, I know about this rule of three, and that, like, yeah, the good that you put into the world, you'll get back to you. the bad that you put in, like, you'll get back to you. But if you've done a lot of bad, you can do good and you can make amends, and then that will sort of help.
I just looked up Silver Ravenwolf. Wikipedia does not list a birth name based. First off, both Raven and Wolf are capitalized, but it's one word.
Hell
That's
yeah.
important to stress. Also, Silver Ravenwolf, born on the day that MCR was formed in 1956, and she is age 69.
Why is this podcast so tied to September 11th?
I don't even know what that date means.
I'll never forget.
Well, yeah, that's because you're New York strong, but I'm only Boston strong, and only from being a kid.
So Al is like,
the
you know
Superman is strong, but is he Boston strong?
he's in a union. I imagine he's in a union. So
yeah, I am.
But yeah, so Nyx is just like, hey, like, just make amends, and Al's like, oh, it's easier said than done. And she's like, but try to do it. I don't know what to tell you, man. And he's like, okay, maybe you're right.
Yeah, he mentions he's been to the green world once.
Yeah, and then we cut to our old friend who has a Wolverine haircut, Jason Wynn. Who recently got out of prison and got a shower and a haircut, and he's less crazy, although
he had a nice meal.
Maybe he's the same amount of crazy because now he is seeing Clown.
He's sort of external. That madness has become externalized in Clown, who in this context is basically Drop Dead Fred. Like, he is just following Jason Wynn around, looking up women's skirts and like hollering at people and saying horrible things. And you can tell that Jason Wynn is hearing all this, and like he's saying, like, Clown is telling people to start bombing kids. He's like, pick up the pace, evil, evil, evil. Who do you have to kill to get someone assassinated around here? Which is a funny line. He says, you're pathetic, all of you. I'll be in my office. And Wynn just kind of goes, I'll be in my office. And they go back in, and once again, his new office is giving great window. Like,
not as good as it used to. With the very dramatic.
It's not as tall, but now it's panoramic.
Yeah, I will say that we haven't talked about the art too much since that first section, but the yelling Clown here is really great.
It's so good.
And the spinning in a chair Clown, which when you first look at it, you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? And then when you realize that he's spinning around in an office chair like a little kid,
you're like, oh,
I guess that's actually the best way to.
That's really good.
Yeah, really, really incredible.
He's asking if they can get porn on the TV. Jason Wynn's just like, not bad. Certainly nicer than an 8-foot cubicle smeared with your own feces. And Clown says, faux shizzle dizzle, which if he is in Jason Wynn's, if he is in Jason Wynn's head, then Jason Wynn has fucking 2003 brain rot. Oh my God, Pierce, I have to send you the picture of the I don't even remember what it was. It was like the fucking like Subway or something near my house. The sign just said 6-7.
6-7.
Which, yeah.
So it means nothing. As far as I understand.
Know where it came from. I learned where it came from. It's like Philadelphia slang that was in a rap song, and it either
is that what it is? I thought it was just
refers to 67th Street or to a code 6-7, and then it was that song with the part, I forget who it's by, where it goes 6-7, is in a bunch of like basketball TikToks.
Well, I think it was also that there's a clip of an announcer saying like, he's only 6'2", but he plays like he's 6'7".
Also possible.
Yeah.
I'm just going by what I read. I am so old that I have to read what slang means.
The children I coach.
Yeah, you told me they're all saying it. That's
they all say it all the time. So
it's so prominent that there are like articles that are like, is this something for parents to be concerned about?
Incredible. Which, you know what? Good. Every generation needs this because we said tons of stupid shit.
Still do.
Yeah. That wasn't anything that anybody needed to worry about. It wasn't a secret code. But yeah. Anyway, so Jason Wynn, now that he's got an office again, he's kind of back in the driver's seat a little bit. They need him, and he's got a little bit more power. He asked Marjorie to bring him Taylor Greene, by the way.
In her first political appointment.
Yeah. Well, she's a receptionist for Jason Wynn before she got elected, which would make a lot of sense. Maybe she's seeing Clown. But he asks her to bring him everything in the Al Simmons file. We cut back to Nyx. Nyx has this kind of ominous page where she's staring out at the moon on midnight, or at midnight, and she's got this black thread in her hands,
she's
which
got a
we know
on her as well.
What was that?
She's got a ladybug crawling on her thumb, which Spawn will have a ladybug on him later.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice that. Well, that's why we do a podcast.
She's also got that weird, like, tragedy mask earring.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's showing that she's duplicitous. But yeah, she's got that thread. Were you about to cite weapons?
No, I was just going to say that we kind of saw it.
She used it to sew him up.
Oh, see, I don't know if it's an actual thread or if it's a little bit of the symbiote that we saw her kind of have.
That's what it was
in the last issue.
Right.
So that she kind of has...
cut out that whole thing where I said something stupid. You're right. That is the symbiote.
Yeah,
that I forgot
a little bit that she has.
That was like the last little hint.
And
anyway,
meanwhile, Al is heading back to the alleys and he's talking to himself. And it's kind of nice that they framed the beginning of this story with that sort of throwbacky he has thought balloons type thing.
Makes a transition to the captions work pretty well.
Yeah, it actually does, because Spawn doesn't always have a ton of interiority, and he needs to have it here because there's just no characters for him to talk to. And I really like what it says here. It says, "All right, Al, let's get this over with. Can't go through life being afraid of your own shadow. Truth is, everything that's happened to me, I brought on myself. No one else to blame. Suck it up and be a soldier. Hell, it was the only thing I was ever really good at. The only thing that ever truly made me proud. It'd be nice to feel a little pride again."
He quotes the Charge of the Light Brigade by Tennyson.
Right, which will come back.
Yep, it sure will.
And we start to get a picture of what Al feels he needs to make amends for, which we've never really seen before. He's never really seemed apologetic about the things he did while in the service, essentially, of Jason Wynn and the United States government. And I think that's an interesting change.
Yeah. Well, I also love the art on this page, the sequence of Spawn sort of transforming, like Al turning into Spawn with the boot kind of wrapping over his foot. Looks great. As he's going in, he meets the sort of like weird animated refuse guardians that have sort of cropped up in the alley thanks to his plasms and stuff. And they're telling him, go back. This is no place for you. The whole thing from the beginning. And he says, I can't turn back. I've got to fetch someone. So he goes in and he makes his way past these like sort of trash guardians. This one that he's like facing down that's really big. That's saying, you are not welcome. You do not have our permission. Looks really good. I love that design.
I think it's interesting that they kind of like
they just nothing. Really
they're there to deter him, but he passes, right?
They're just like, he's just going past us. It's almost a very Labyrinth kind of moment in a way.
Yeah, it's like a fake trial, right? It's like, oh, if this was going to make you turn back, then you did not have the resolve that you needed to move forward.
But who should he find in a cage but Major Forsburg, who he left there, I believe, in the captivity of the Freak?
He left. So Forsberg, one named for Peter Forsberg, the legendary Hall of Fame Colorado Avalanche hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
Forsberg, we met back in issue 56. We saw him in regards to Cygor.
Right.
That was his big connection. And then he runs away. At some point in that story, he runs away. Al didn't necessarily leave him with anybody, but he just kind of runs away. And
or he
Al
gets
goes,
captured by it was the Freak, wasn't it?
Does he get captured by the Freak? I think you're right. But
well, that's why he's in a cage here. And Al just kind of left him to it. Important thing is he wound up in this cage in the alley where he's been for God knows how long. Al left him to his fate, and now he's come back to get him. And Forsburg is kind of sort of out of it. He's like, who's there? He's been eating rats. And we see him, and he's just looking so disheveled. We then cut to Twitch. He's in the police station, and he's looking at a picture, and he's saying, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And we realize what he's looking at is the mugshot of Al from when he was picked up just a couple issues ago, compared to a photo of Al from his army days on a newspaper talking about how Al's grave was robbed. And so he's suddenly realizing that this is Al Simmons, and Al Simmons is alive. Al Simmons is Spawn. Spawn is Al Simmons. It's all happening. And that will bring us to Spawn number 126. So Pierce, hit me with those credits.
Hell yeah. So Spawn 126. Todd McFarlane and Image Comics present Wake Up Dreaming Part 2. Plot by Todd McFarlane, Brian Holguin. Story by Brian Holguin. Pencils by Angel Medina. Inks by Dana Miki, Victor Olazaba, El Martinez, and Crime Lab Studios. Lettering by Tom Warzakowski. Colors by Brian Haberlin. Cover by Greg Capullo. Dedicated to Evan Kaplan, a person who I couldn't find anything out about.
Great.
So cool that he got a random... Again, this continues to be a very funny thread of the dedications is who are
probably
these people?
Probably a guy who works in the publicity department or something.
Right. So it is what it is. We open with a kind of classic kind of opening for a Spawn comic. I honestly, the first 3 pages of most Spawn comics are pretty prescribed to us at this point. I think we're pretty used to it. It's big splash page with a lot of text into a double page spread that kind of gets us to the next thing.
Flavor to taste, but that's usually it. Yeah.
Yeah. The big splash is some just kind of fun narration, I think, honestly. Someone has come at long last. Someone has come. The old man's eyes peer out into the gloom. Out past the shadowy bars of his prison, his pupils dilate. Stretching for available light, measuring the familiar form. How long has he sat here, caged like a rat? How long since he was a man? At first he prayed for release, prayed for someone to set him free. But he's grown to love his prison, here in the shadows, cold and shivering. Spine crimped, muscles knotted, he feels safe. Outside, there are bad things, dangerous things. Best to stay put, away from the grim clutches of the night.
And we turn the page, and who is here but Spawn? And all around him, we see these amorphous, shifting, blobby demons of slime and fangs. And it's a great looking page.
Fucking rules.
I will say, I don't know if this is better in the printed version, but for some reason, the bubbles and boxes on this page get smaller, so the text is a little smushed. And it's still okay to read. It's just it feels like a strange shift to it's down 10% or something.
Yeah, it's the same. It's just really tiny, and I think it's mostly that it's hard to block stuff and have readability in the order that you want to. And so I think Warzakowski here is I can't block the outstretched arm. I can't block the cape really, because that will take something away. The illustration's really fucking cool.
The colors on this are great. It's another great example of how to do that hot color, cool color balance.
It is them sort of finding the balance where I have complained about it in the past.
Yes. And so Spawn turns and sees all the sort of creepy things coming for him, and he blasts out his chains, rips them all apart, It talks about how these creatures are mere detritus, shambling forms of debris, rag and bone, filth and refuse, given shape and purpose by a madman's fear and the strange magic of these alleyways. So they're just weird simulacrum created by Forsberg's weird psychic fear energy.
Well, I like that they are magical. Be like there's something supernatural about this alleyway in general, but I love that they include Forsberg in their creation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like the idea. I think that that's like when we joke about with like Batman comics, like, oh, the city is a character.
Yeah.
Oh, oh,
It's
the
almost
other
like New York
character.
is a
This,
character all its own.
yeah, and like in this case, it does kind of like make that more textual in a way, but I like the idea that it's feeding off of the closest thing to it,
Yeah.
which is
Because
this
that's kind
very
of how
scared
this
man in the
weird
cage.
magic that has been
Yeah,
established in this liminal space kind of works. And he's telling Spawn to go away. He says, please don't let them take me. And he says, you don't understand. Don't touch me. I'll only drag you under. And Spawn grabs his face, and it says, Spawn feels the tide of madness pulling at him. The night is split by blinding light, and the world cracks in two. And here they are transported to what can only be described as the most grim version of a battlefield with the worst parts of like every war fought by people. There's like bodies in the ground like the Osterfront. There are people strapped to pillars with barbed wire. They're drowning in mud in the trenches like Passchendaele in World War One. It's a great
yeah,
song by Iron Maiden about that. It's a battle where people were just dying by getting stuck in mud that was impossible to escape. And like you'd walk past, like soldiers would walk past these pits of mud, which is people stuck in them up to their waist, sinking slowly, screaming for help. And there's nothing they could do but shoot them because it was impossible to pull them out of the muck. And you would go close and get sucked in yourself.
yeah,
Thousands of people literally getting pulled under the earth. And that's kind of the vibe you get by these pages. Like, this is all grim and gray, and there's sort of this like almost army man color to the soldiers. This weirdly, okay, some of what this looks like to me. Do you know Henry Darger? You have Henry Darger.
yeah.
For our listeners who aren't, Henry Darger is sort of the ultimate outsider artist. He lived in Chicago in the early to mid 20th century. He was
He was like a janitor, right?
yes, and let's just say he had an incredibly singular mind that had this really wild ongoing fantasy life where he created these thousands and thousands of pages of stories and illustrations called In the Realms of the Unreal. And all of it's all about this war between like kids and like evil soldiers, and the kids are like being crucified on the battlefield, and it's like running red with blood and shit. There's a great documentary about him called In the Realms of the Unreal. I highly recommend. But there's just a vibe of that, like this abject, torturous, like hellscape that is grim and gray and just earth tone, but in a way that I think is very intentional.
Mm. Yeah, I am gonna be honest. I don't super love this sequence.
I like this double page spread. And I like aspects of the sequence. That said, what's going to happen here is Spawn and Forsberg are going to fight their way out of the trenches, out of the mud. They're going to fight their way across the battlefield, basically making their way through hordes of zombies that are like risen soldiers from all eras of war. It mentions, what does it say? Where's it at? It mentions the Somme. Yeah, here it is. Driven to madness and despair in the trenches of the Somme, in the jungles of Cambodia, on the sands of Normandy, and the alleys of Dresden.
I like to the point about the mud. I do think that it is fun to do the zombies as sort of the more visual representation of that. I think
Yeah.
that stuff is really, really cool.
Some of it gets a little hard to read, though, especially in the omnibus format. It's probably a little better in the actual floppy where you can kind of spread it out better.
Yeah, flatten it out.
Some of the double page spreads, because of that color palette in the omnibus specifically, get a little harder to read. That said, there are a lot of parts of it that I really like. This whole sequence where Forsburg is being dragged down by a zombie and Al's trying to keep a hand on him. The zombie hand, the cartooning here, it's a very Jack Davis kind of like line quality, which just classic EC Comics horror artist, and also kind of the artist laureate of Athens, Georgia. Did a lot of University of Georgia art and cartooning that is still beloved and iconic to this day.
I have a question for you about these pages in general, because I do think that we've seen Angel Medina kind of go all over the place over the course of his sort of tenure. 26 issues now on Spawn, or 25
God, it
issues.
is that long in, isn't it?
Right? Do we think that the army of inkers on here are really guiding the pencils to give us something that looks more consistently like what Spawn should look like?
How many inkers are credited on this one?
3 and studios.
Okay.
So I
actually, what I want to say in that case is I think it's on the penciler to hold it down. When you have that many inkers, it can easily, and I mean, we can see pages where like the line work on some of these pages varies a lot. That previous page, the inking is very much, like I said, a very Jack Davis kind of like pen and brush sort of line quality. The next pages are a little more, almost look like Jim Calafiore in the way they're inked. So it is a little inconsistent. I think the penciler actually has to do a lot of heavy lifting to make sure that what they're drawing is easy to interpret by any inker, like whoever might get it.
I guess like my thing here is that like there are details here that I can't imagine were in the pencils. Specifically,
that's probably true.
In this double page spread where these like zombies are like popping out and kind of like reaching out, right?
Yeah.
I feel like everything that's in that kind of blue, I feel like that's all on the page. And then it feels like inkers had to fill in a good amount of stuff. And then
also possible.
And then similarly, I know on the next double page spread that with the bridge breaking, where like the bridge is kind of in the foreground and we're doing the sort of
the action on this page is a little hard to read.
It's but I think Angel Medina is good at the layouts. Like he knows how he wants to communicate this stuff, but it does feel like
my take on that background on that page is that it looks pretty standard. Like probably what Medina did was do the like X's where all the black would be.
Yeah.
And they kind of hatched it in at the bottom. But no, I do think that you can tell that there's a bunch of different inkers. That Jack Davis looking spread is the one after the bridge.
Yeah.
I was saying that one looks really good. So anyway, Spawn and Forsburg are fighting their way through these zombies. Forsburg finally manages to get up the hill with Spawn, and he hands Spawn a gun and says, "Shoot me. Don't let them take me. Shoot me." And he has to kind of coax him into it, but Spawn does. And when he does, they both wake up in the alley. And Forsburg says, "Simmons, is that you, son?" And Spawn is like, "Sir, yes, sir." And he says, "You came back for me. I knew you would. I never doubted. God bless you. You're a damn fine soldier." And then he kind of dies in Spawn's arm. Final page of the issue is this flowing American flag with the charge of the light, another section of Charge of the Light Brigade. Now, this is a particularly funny section to me. It's not funny in text. It says cannon to the left or right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600, when can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the Light Brigade. Noble 600. Now, what's funny about that to me is have you ever watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yes.
There's a episode where to get in with this girl who loves poetry, Will pretends that he is friends with a street poet named Raphael de la Ghetto. And Jeffrey the butler has to pretend to be Raphael de la Ghetto, and so he shows up dressed like very stereotypical, like 70s, like
Sure.
Civil rights activist.
I think I remember this. Yeah.
And then they asked him to recite something, and he recites this, and he's like, "Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the," and everybody's like, "What the fuck is this?" Let's see. Also, I believe that the Light Brigade was kind of just a suicide. Charge of the Light Brigade was really just a suicide mission that they knew was bad. I'd have to look back and remember that, but it's kind of like an immortalized thing that was immortalized in order to make the British soldiers feel less bad about how fucking shit it was.
During the Crimean War, right?
Yes, with Russia and England. And boy, if you want to talk about a brutal war, the Crimean War was one of the main precursors to World War I in terms of how war would be fought. By the time World War I came around, I'm sorry, we pressed my History Dad special interest button, which is World War I, because World War I is kind of the actual birth of the modern world. That is where the industrialization of the world actually happened. World War I is why cigarettes are popular. The popularity of cigarettes, which is caused by World War I, is in turn why our advertising exists as it does. Anyway, all that to say, the Crimean War, if you ever want to study a really fucked up, brutal war, it's pretty rough. And World War I is, in terms of the actual battles and fighting, World War I probably the most brutal I've heard of.
Charge of the Light Brigade. I did a little bit of Googling. I asked Dr. Google some things. Not the AI part, not that part. I want to be clear here. Fuck that. But 110 people were killed during the Charge of the Light Brigade. Yeah. The reason it's called the Light Brigade is because they rode unarmored light fast horses. So they had like lances and sabers, but they were meant for reconnaissance mainly. But they needed to get around quickly, so they were not heavily armored. Right. The Heavy Brigade were the 4th Royal Irish Dragoon Guards, which is the coolest shit I've ever heard.
Okay, so something that's crazy about World War I, you can see pictures of it. It's one of the first wars that we have a lot of photographs from, especially from the front, and even some footage in some cases. Yeah. And some of the pictures are just so bizarre because of how quickly the culture of armies in general had to change. So you would see like German soldiers in their like pot helmets and gas masks riding on like parade horses next to tanks. And like you'd see tanks facing down fucking like French soldiers that were still dressed in like blue and red Napoleonic like tailcoats with like tall hats, getting machine gunned by fucking Germans because the Germans had invented the idea of industrial war, which is where the Schlieffen Plan comes in. To learn more about World War I and the Schlieffen Plan, consult the podcast Blueprint for Armageddon by Dan Carlin, A Hardcore History It's probably one of the best historical recountings of anything of all time.
Awesome.
So early recommendation right there.
Hell yeah. Cool. We've gotten to the end of these 2 issues. We said last episode we'd do 3, but we decided not to. So we'll do 3 next time to finish out this arc. But we do have a little bit of back matter. So I'm going to get into it.
Come on, baby girl. Won't you back that matter up?
We're back to a 2-page spawning ground, by the way. It's been only 1 page.
The letters have returned.
Yeah,
they're flooding
so it's been only 1 page for a while, but
none of them written by ChatGPT.
This is the spawning ground from issue 125. It says, "Dear Todd, I've followed your career since the days of Infinity Inc. A long,
hell yeah,
long
Mr.
time
Bones,
ago.
Spawn prototype.
True. I have every Spidey, Hulk, and Spawn issue you ever created. I'm a diehard McFarlane fan, but I am finding myself to be less and less a Spawn fan. I have a lot of the action figures. I've read every issue and watched all the TV shows and the movie. Lately, though, when the book hits the stands, I just don't get excited. I buy it, I read it, but it's getting pushed down to the bottom of my reading pile. I will dash to open the new Spidey, Rising Stars, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Rising Stars and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Wow.
Ultimates, Paradise X, or Authority. But Spawny gets picked up semi-last. Not last, but close to it. I keep waiting to get interested again. I thought you had something when Spawn and Al got separated. I've read a few issues into that plot line, and I feel, well, ho-hum about it. I just don't have much interest left in Spawn. I am, however, still very interested in you and what you create. My point is, I want to see another comic from you, not an Angela comic or an Alien Spawn comic, I want a new comic with fresh ideas. I want something that is still the same in the same Spawn universe, but has nothing to do with Spawn. A new hero trying to make his way in the world.
Well,
as I said, I'm a McFarlane fan. I love to see your artwork and ideas. I realize the artwork thing isn't very likely anymore. I disagree, but I understand. That's in the letter. It's not something I was saying.
Right.
I think your ideas should still be able to come out. When you first started Spawn and Image, I thought of you as the next Stan Lee. He came up with so many great heroes. He has a real legacy to his life. Daredevil, Hulk, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man, to name a few. You've got Spawn, and that's a great accomplishment. I just thought you would at least attempt to create other heroes. I would like to see more. I think we all would. I don't want to tell you how to live your life. You'll do what you like, but this fan would just love to read something different from you. I've stayed with Spawn for 10 years and I'm bored with him. When you first began publishing Spawn, I don't really think you had any clue what you were doing. You were a master artist, but you had never spent much time writing. I think you have that licked, though, at least the conceptualization part. I would love to see you build another hero from the ground up with all the knowledge that you have. Take everything you learned on Spawn and start with another character or characters. Start with a blank slate. I don't even need or want you to write the bloody thing. I know you don't have the time. I would just like you to come up with the plot and character. Also, do art direction on a comic like Alex Ross on Paradise X. He comes up with the costumes and look, but doesn't get bogged down with the drawing of the comic. I think the industry would blow up. Old fans would come back, and new fans would be made if you release something new. I know I would be the first one in line for a copy. If it works, you would have another cash cow in your hands. In closing, thanks for the years of enjoyment. I'm sure you have thought about this before. Maybe you don't have the time. Maybe you don't have the passion. Maybe you don't have the energy. Or maybe it isn't a sound business investment. Whatever the reason, know that if you did do it, you would make a lot of people happy. Thanks. Dan
I don't
Slott.
know.
No, I'm kidding.
You almost killed me.
Thanks, Nick. Nick Mark 666 from the message boards of Spawn.com. Before we get into Todd's response, let's chat about that because I think it is interesting.
Spawn isn't up to par with the best and most innovative comics of the year that are literally the comics that are changing the culture of comics right now. Why is that? Is kind of a very like, I'm 14 and this is deep kind of thought. But also like, why don't you do more Stan Lee shit? Well, Stan Lee stole all that shit. He didn't create any of that shit. I know this kid doesn't know that, but like, look, there is plenty of evidence to suggest that Stan Lee had more to do with marketing the ideas than coming up with them.
Sure.
And
we're not going to litigate that right now.
I'm just stating it in a plain way. I just bristle when someone's like, why don't you do what different creators do that I want you to do? And it's just like, because that's not. And also, by now, he's done it a bunch. By 2025, yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, and here's the thing is that, like, and I think this goes back to sort of what we talked about at the top, right? Where Todd was saying, like, oh, I wish indie creators would stick with their thing for 300 issues. I wish they would
get the opportunity.
That's what I mean. But like I wish that they would be able to do that, because I think you do learn a lot from the ebbs and flows of things. I think that this kind of criticism, even if it is from a 14-year-old, who Todd has already said, like, if that's who I lose altogether, I'm fucked.
Right. No, for sure.
Like, I do think that he's leaned into that. And what's funny about this letter to me is he kind of is Stan Lee now in so many ways.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just criticism that amounts to why aren't you a different thing and why aren't things different? Sure. I don't love it.
Sure.
It's just the critic in me for one thing, but also just the impassioned plea to be like, just create more characters. And I don't know. Sure. The funny thing is, I actually feel like that I would love something fresh and new from like Marvel or DC, really. I mean, even DC's doing, what is it, DC KO or something?
Yeah.
That it's fun, the like, it's fine.
But we have absolute, the absolute books. They're doing something kind of new-ish.
I don't sort of. They're also just going to be part of DC KO now, and so
but they're like not in continuity with DC KO. Scott said that he was like the things that happen in DC KO do not affect the actual books. We're just bringing the characters in because it's fun.
Sure, it's just more of the Fortnite shit though, where you got like isn't Spawn in it or something?
I know that the bear serial killer from Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees is in it, which is fucking wild.
Yeah, but again, it feels like that's just following a trend. Spawn should be in it, but that just feels like it's just following a trend of like, even like when you play Mortal Kombat, all the like characters they put in, Spawn's in some of them. They got Peacemaker and Terminator, and it's like
Omni-Man.
Could you put Raiden or whatever the fuck is Reptile in this one? Like, I don't know. Melina is Melina in this? Is Cyrax in this yet?
Where's Sector? What's he up to?
Where's Sector?
I want to write the Sector comic about him being a divorced dad.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Sector has to go to like a kid pickup on Fridays. So find out what's going on there. Does he wear the armor?
He's going to PTA people normal meetings, about that? Dropping bombs out. Was Sector or Cyrax the one that dropped bombs?
Sector. Cyrax was the net guy.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
Sector is the red one.
And like, you know what? What does Ermac think about One Battle After Another? Like, is Ermac a cinephile? Like, these are the things that I want to know about the Mortal Kombat universe.
Well,
is Sindel like a hair influencer now?
Yeah, this is what's important. This is what the fans care about, not like them meeting each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, what does Todd say to old Dan Slott?
It's a pretty long response, actually. So he says, Nick, I'd like to thank you first off for your well thought out letter. I appreciate the kind comments and the constructive criticism. I'll see if I can touch upon at least some of the key elements of the questions you have. Probably the biggest thing that I have to deal with in my life as it exists today compared to 10 years ago or during my Spider-Man or pre-Image days is the struggle of balance. That balance now comes in many forms. As I mentioned before, During some of those glory years that you talk about, I was either not married or newly married and had no kids. As it stands today, my wife and I are proud parents of 3 children, 11 years and younger. If you haven't experienced that life, I can let you know that it consumes a tremendous amount of your time, effort, and energy on any given day, all for good reasons. The downtime and freedom that I used to have to be able to go back to work for 2 or 3 extra hours after dinner is no longer a luxury that is part of the balance I'm looking for. Combine that with the fact that we've expanded my career into other venues that I never thought would be possible when I first started doing comic books, Hollywood and video and toys and all the stuff that we do in those categories. Those can be equally time consuming during the normal business day, not during the family hours. Mix in a dose of the economy being pretty fickle, which has a direct impact on the business that we do, not only in comic books, but also in all the other areas I mentioned. And there are things now out of my control that we have to pay more attention to than we did in the past. I wouldn't say the passion of comic books has left me. There are plenty of times I go to sleep wishing my life were simpler and that I could just lock myself in a room. However, that's not the path I've chosen. I do, though, spend a lot of time involved with the creative process. With toys, we're always creating new ideas. The video games, we're always trying to engage ourselves in a different medium, all the while learning new tricks with the projects we're involved with. We're planning on getting back into the Spawn animation business this year. We're working on 3 different movies. Oh boy, here's where it begins. Here's where it truly begins. Hoping that one of those will take root, I continually write ideas that spring forth and put them in folders on a regular basis. I also try to ink as many covers as possible and do as much sketching on many of the products that we produce. Fans may never see that because a lot of the creative process is behind closed doors. Right now, I'm renovating my house. One of the things that will result from that is that I'll actually have an office dedicated for me to do nothing else but create. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that while I'm working in that office, I'll be doing comic book creating, but it does mean I'll be spending 8, 9, or 10 hours of creating nonstop, rather than stopping and starting with the other business matters that I have to attend to in running some of my other companies. I appreciate you hanging around being open-minded enough to look at some of the other things we've come up with in other arenas. Again, there will come a time when I'll actually get back into comic books, when I get finished scratching some of the itches that I have now in some of the other mediums. At that point, I'll just do comic books for the enjoyment of it, not for the business of it. Right now, the business end comes into play in some of these other areas and trying to get things in front of the largest audience possible. The future has always brought tremendous surprises. I hope it'll continue to do so, and that certainly includes comic books. Thank you for your kind words and advice. We look forward to creating more products for your future enjoyment. Todd McFarlane.
Well, there you go.
Couple things there. I think one, that's such a nice response.
Todd's always trying to be like cool to the kids, and that's good.
But I think it's interesting that a lot of the thing he says a lot is like, I'll get back to comics. I'll get back to comics. I'll get back to
do
comics.
It for the love of it. I was just thinking that, like,
and 22 years later, you never got back to comics, bud. Like, you never did.
Not in a substantive way.
Yeah, not in a way that people are like, holy shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, but that's kind of...
I think there's only one thing that could get him back: penciling.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just... I don't blame him for having a whole world around him to basically try and run. Again, as he said, he's got a family to feed. Mm-hmm. He's got 100%. A business with like God knows how many employees and revenue streams, and he's embroiled in infinity lawsuits and like... Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's always the dream to be like, oh, I'll do the thing I love just for the love of it soon.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get to that place. I mean, I think we can both speak to that. Like, there are things that we both have done and do for the love of it that, like, it can be hard to get in that space. It can be hard to feel productive in that in a lot of ways. I mean, it can be easy to kind of feel like you've lost your artistic voice in some way and then come back to it.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's a forever ebb and flow of these things.
Right.
I do think the only thing that would get Todd back drawing is Spider-Man Spawn.
I wonder if it would ever happen.
Given that we just did Batman Deadpool,
nothing's impossible.
Feels back on the table in a way that I never thought it could be.
Yeah.
And I don't know who. The problem is, I think that those characters are just so incompatible.
Yeah.
That we'd sooner see another Spawn Batman, I assume. But,
right.
But
Spawn
I don't
Daredevil. But that would be a better book in some ways. But
it would
Spawn
be a better
Spider-Man
book, but it doesn't have the.
No, it doesn't.
Todd McFarlane back on Spawn.
Oh yeah,
Spider-Man
on Spawn and Spider-Man would be it.
That's the book. That's the book, you know, like,
yeah.
And I think
we'd all be lining up.
I mean, come on, of course.
They want to sell a lot of comics, but no, yeah, I agree. And you know, at this point, it's like I just want Todd to do what's right for him and his family. You know, just like whatever my dreams are, I just want his dreams to be his.
You know, I think a really fun thing about doing this show, and we've talked about it a little bit before, we've touched on it, is that, like, I understand that Todd is a multimillionaire and like he doesn't need me to defend him in any way, shape, or form. He doesn't give a shit. But like, I will always defend somebody who really comes across as an artist to me.
Yeah.
And that as much as he is embroiled in the business side of things,
he loves comics. He loves the comics.
He never stops it because he loves it. And the fact that even if he was the only reader, he would keep doing it.
Yeah.
Means so much to me. And
absolutely. I mean, I make art, I make music, and I try to just do it because I love it. And I would do it no matter what. If I was incredibly successful, I'd do it. If I lived in obscurity as I do now, I'd do it. And so, yeah, I absolutely relate to that.
I mean, you're on a hit podcast, so.
That is true. I just mean like no one's following like my art career, really. My music isn't getting 1 billion downloads, but I don't care. That's literally not why I do it. We'll see. Maybe when Lost Cigarette hits. That's the preview. We are almost, I'm just waiting to get some mixes on drum tracks back, and then we'll be releasing some shit.
Hell
so
yeah.
I can hear it.
I'm like slowly teaching myself guitar, so maybe I'll
you're talking about that. Do it.
Well, we'll see. I'm not very good at it yet. I still don't know the names of the things that I'm doing, but they sound okay.
Yeah.
But that's step one, right? Well, listen, this has been 2 episodes, or
2 issues.
Well, listen, this has been 2 issues of Spawn, parts 1 and 2 of Wake Up Dreaming. And before we go, George, do you have any recommendations for our listeners?
I gave out a bunch of them earlier, but let's see. I'll give a movie recommendation. It's been Halloween season. I've been watching horror movies. Today I picked Reanimator on Tubi. I don't know if you use Tubi. Has good movies on it.
It's free.
It's free. And it just auto played into In the Mouth of Madness. But then the one I'm going to recommend, great movie, From Beyond by Stuart Gordon, also who directed Reanimator, also has Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton in it. If you haven't seen it, it is about a machine that fills people with mutant ghosts that make them psychotically horny.
Hell yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Sounds awesome.
It is. It rules.
I have also been watching horror movies, but then the other night, and this is going to be my recommendation, I threw on Gremlins 2.
Gremlins, and you know what? New batch.
Like, that movie's just such a delight.
It, as an adult, it makes more sense to me almost as a parody of a sequel.
Yeah, 100%. It's so silly. It's so over the top. It's the most like yes and.
All the like different types of gremlins just like lit me up as a kid. The bat gremlin. Also love the sexy gremlin.
Of course, a classic.
We all love the sexy
but
gremlin.
Like, you know, just That movie is just because it doesn't have the thing that you think that a quote unquote bad sequel would have. It's like, oh no, like it's a different director. Like they don't have respect for the material. It's like, no, Joe Dante just did it again. And he was like, I don't know, this shit's silly. So
Yeah.
let's do it again. Also really funny to see Robert Picardo with hair. Because as a child, my first interaction with Robert Picardo as an actor was him as the hologram doctor on Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah.
Yep. And I also don't really understand how hologram doctors work. I guess he's like a hard light construct, so he could touch things.
Yeah, there's a whole world out there of Star Trek.
So anyway, Gremlins 2, the new batch. That's my recommendation.
Hell yeah. Well, there you go.
Great.
There you have it, folks.
Listen, if you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Really helps the show. We don't have advertisers, and we don't pay for them, and we don't pay for promotion. So word of mouth is the way that you get the word out about our show. We talk about a lot of bullshit. We talk about Spawn. So tell your friends,
we have a
please.
Great time.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about the Fantastic Four movie.
Well, that was one time, and I'm sure it'll come up again. I'm going to get the Steelbook. I mean, I'm still going to buy that movie.
Oh, yeah. It's still a fucking great movie. You better not say it
isn't. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. George, for Todd so loved the world,
he gave his only begotten Spawn.
See you later, Hellspawn.
Spawnography!
Spawnography is recorded in Athens, Georgia, and Queens, New York. It's produced by me, Pierce Lyden. Our theme music and logo were composed by George Marston. Episodes come out every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on social media at Spawnography or at SpawnographyPod. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so at spawnographypod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and until next time, see you later, Hellspawn.